last few years, it didn't matter too much if you made mistakes while dabbling in the housing market. The profits of amateur developers were protected by a rising market. But then in the summer of 2007, the housing bubble burst.
The worst thing was not being able to borrow any more money.
Everything changed and just took a dive.
Everything went from fabulous to rock bottom overnight, really.
And now the bubble's burst and that's it, it's finished. I don't think it'll ever come back.
It's 2007, and with the housing market falling, the best thing developers can do right now is to take on short projects so you can get in and get out quickly. But it's too late for tonight's novice developers who've already taken on 2 mammoth projects.
This has taken so much of our time up, in the end just gets on your nerves, but you've got to do it.
And when they run out of cash, things go from bad to worse.
We've gone to the Building Society, and because of the credit crunch, they've said they're not prepared to lend us any more money.
In Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire, meet self-employed bookseller Nigel Gough and his wife Gilly, who restores antique furniture.
Our experience in property developing is nil, really.
We've knocked a wall down.
And we've done some decorating.
Rewired a couple of plugs, but really not much experience at all.
Despite the lack of experience, in July 2007, Nigel and Gilly decide that this 3-bedroom Victorian property is where they should invest all their savings in a bid to pay off their mortgage. It's a huge project, and dragging this house into the 21st century is going to be a lot harder than they imagine. So this is it? This is your first
Absolutely,
development?
Yeah.
It's a top-end area, this, isn't it?
We've been looking for a house like this for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Projects like this don't come along very often, and you don't even have to think about when you get the opportunity to buy something. You've just got to go in there.
What made you decide to do it? Have you always thought about developing or not?
Bottom line is making money. We want to get our mortgage down as much as we can.
Yeah. Nigel's old-fashioned.
I think it's a long-term aim, to be realistic. It's going to take a few projects like this to get to that stage.
Right. What are you thinking that this development's going to cost?
The builder's quote came in a lot higher than we expected,
Yes,
to be fair.
Yeah.
So we just made it up a little bit.
It's a seriously scary approach to developing, and it gets even scarier when you look at their figures. They paid $527,000 for the property, right at the top of the market. But waiting for planning permission in a falling market means their sums don't stack up from the start. They have a £100,000 budget, which is small for such a big project, and they hope to sell for an optimistic $675,000. That would make them a £33,000 profit. But that's just a 5% return on their investment. Property developing involves a lot of money, and as a rule, you should aim for a 20% return on your investment. I'm struggling to see any sense in this development. What I don't totally understand is you wanted to modernise an old house that needed work. Just because a house is unmodernised doesn't necessarily mean you'll make any profit out of modernising it, because it might cost more than the difference between a modernised house and an unmodernised house to do the work. When the market's difficult, it's even more crucial to be realistic about your figures, and I think their £675,000 sale price simply isn't. A project like this can be terribly stressful on you emotionally. Are you a bit nervous about that?
We never really plan too much, so that we don't argue about what's to come. We just take it on when it comes.
Crikey, that sounds like a time bomb waiting to go off. No plans, and it'll be okay. It's a dangerous strategy for a development that needs so much work. At the top, there's an unconverted roof space with a large chimney breast in the middle. On the first floor, there's a master bedroom with ensuite, a further 2 bedrooms but no family bathroom. And downstairs, There are 2 reception rooms, an unfashionably small kitchen, and finally the bathroom, exactly where no one wants it. It's a terrible layout. But Nigel and Gilly have a vision for putting it right.
So the plan out here, I mean, it's quite a big plan, isn't it? You're planning on knocking all of this wall down, extending here, and knocking all of that wall down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's just not something that I've ever seen done.
Oh, right.
Oh.
This is a huge amount of work. Nigel and Gilly rightly want to demolish the old bathroom and extend to the side to gain more space. But they also want to take out the entire back wall of the house to join the rear reception room into the now enormous kitchen diner. I feel they should keep the second reception room and install a downstairs WC, crucial to a large family home.
The thinking is that we're going to have a great big open space with the kitchen and the dining area there, so the family can spend all their time in there. We spend all of our time nowadays in kitchens and dining areas.
It all makes complete sense until you think about what's in the rest of the house, how many bedrooms there are, how many further reception rooms there are. It's only when children are incredibly small that you want that totally open plan space. As soon as they have thousands of plastic bits of toy, you actually want that in a slightly separate space.
We thought we had the ground floor.
Really good. Oh no, I'm really sorry.
Their problems don't stop downstairs. Upstairs, they're converting the loft, which should add real value. But they're only adding 1 bedroom, and they're putting the family bathroom up here, which could be a major pain for the bedrooms below. If they took out the chimney, they could get a 2nd bedroom up here, and on the floor below, they could turn the rear bedroom into a far more convenient family bathroom.
I think you have to have a bathroom on this floor, because I think if you only have another bathroom other than this ensuite up in the attic, it doesn't work at all well for a family with young children.
Do you think that what is now the 3rd bedroom is going to be a substantial bathroom? It's going to be a big bathroom.
It is.
And yet, say the 4th bedroom upstairs is going to be a relatively small space.
It's not big enough to be a bedroom and a bathroom,
right.
That back space. So you can't do that, and therefore I think you have to go with it being a bathroom.
But this seems to be the solution.
Yeah.
We were trying to tick too many boxes and get too many things in too many little spaces.
I like that.
Yeah, because we've had...
I can't argue with it.
The good news is they like this new layout for upstairs, but on the ground floor, it's a different story.
We've now got a plan upstairs, at least, but downstairs, I'm not sure.
I still feel that large space at the back of the house really is going to make an absolutely stunning room. I personally feel that I would quite like to stick with our original plan.
To suddenly say, oh yes, we're going to go with what Sarah has said is harder than you think.
130 miles away near Diss in Norfolk, meet retired cabbie Alan Hutchinson and his wife Sue. They too think they have the perfect money-making project. They've sold everything they own and have moved into a caravan to take this on. It's an old Edwardian lodge in the middle of the forest that was completely gutted by fire 5 years ago, and one of the most derelict developments we've ever had.
I can understand people looking at that and thinking, goodness, what a risk those couple are taking. But to me, there is no risk because I know it's 4 walls, but they're 4 sturdy walls.
I think, you know, you've only got to have a little bit of sense to sort of like get something like that going, get a good architect on it and sort out all your rooms and everything, get the landscaping done properly. How can you go wrong? You can't really go wrong.
But with a development on this scale in an already jittery housing market, things can go very wrong indeed.
If I had £100,000 in pound notes in my hand and said, do you want it or not?
I'd say no, I don't want it.
It's autumn 2007 and there's speculation that the housing boom is going bang. But nobody wants to hear that, especially not Alan and Susan Hutchinson, who've sunk their life savings into a massive project near Diss in Norfolk. They've bought this burnt-out old lodge in the middle of the woods. It's a big project, especially as they've only ever renovated a couple of small cottages before.
So, what an amazing pile of bricks, yours. There's not a lot there. You've got a bit of a job on your hands, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Certainly, this is a really amazingly unique spot, and it's very peaceful. So why did you decide to buy this?
What we were thinking, that people want value for money these days, and what more would you value than your time, your leisure time with your family and friends, privacy and a haven from stress, and just to be somewhere that they can relax and enjoy. And I think this really is the place.
So you were desperate to get this?
I was. I really wanted it, yeah. I really wanted it.
Alan and Sue recently paid £190,000 for the property. They have a £200,000 budget. It's tight for what's a virtual rebuild and relies on them doing a massive amount of the work themselves. Surprisingly, though, their £450,000 sale price falls way short of what I think they could achieve, as does their target profit of £60,000.
What's really exciting about this is you do effectively have a blank canvas. You've got a fantastic plot with quite an interesting building in, but it's so derelict you can do what you like with it in terms of layout and space.
We've got our own ideas on the way we'd like the place to be. It's a personal thing sometimes.
But it's the personal thing that means that they're missing the true potential of this site. On the ground floor, they're installing a kitchen that risks becoming a chaotic crossroads between the new dining room extension, with conservatory on one side and a sitting room and study on the other. I think conservatories can put off a lot of buyers. In its place, I'd build a larger extension and put the kitchen diner there. There'd be less traffic and access to the garden. Then, as dining rooms are rarely used these days, I'd move that into the busy central area behind.
The way we thought it through was that the hub of the house was the kitchen, and all rooms came back to the kitchen. That's kind of the warmest, snuggest, cosiest place, and people love to be in the kitchen.
But it's also the most chaotic room, which you need to be able to shut the door on and not go in. So if you have to go through the kitchen to get anywhere in the house, it means that you are always going to have to look at the washing up.
The issues downstairs are nothing compared with the missed opportunities above. Alan and Susan are planning just 3 bedrooms. But family houses with 4 bedrooms always command a premium. And it's an easy fix to put one above a larger ground floor extension, potentially raising the sale price by a massive 20%. To me, it's a no-brainer.
What do you think of that, between 3 and 4 bedrooms?
We're not totally inflexible. We will give it some thought.
But that 4th bedroom is absolutely essential if you want to get top value for this, because a family house changes in value from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom quite considerably.
Do you think that the family home will get us the best revenue?
Definitely. Most people who want an acre of land and they want to live in the middle of the woods want to do so because they have children and they want their children to run around in the woods. So it's just more chance that you're going to sell it because there's more people like that.
I just get it on my mind, you know, what you want and like, and hopefully someone else will like it as well, you know. They just walk in, they think, yeah, I like this, because we like it.
You're seeing a lot of you in this house, aren't you?
Yeah, but we're hoping that someone else might see it as well.
I'm not sure Alan and Susan have done their homework. There's an amazing opportunity to build a premium family home. But if they do what they want rather than what the market demands, they risk throwing it all away. In Henley, work started on Nigel and Gilly's development. As the rear of the property is totally ripped down, the enormity of what they have taken on starts to hit home.
I think in retrospect, we didn't realise quite how grim this house was.
1, 2, 3, go!
They're project managing a 3-month build with figures so tight that even the tiniest mistake could cost them dearly. But they're already knocking through the rear reception room to form part of their enormous new kitchen diner.
This is fantastic. I mean, look at the light already.
Amazing. I am so happy, I can't tell you.
It leaves this development with just 1 reception, for a 4-bedroom family home, which is not what buyers in Henley want. This nearby house started out with an identical ground floor layout to Nigel and Gilly's. And even though it's been modernised, they've kept the front reception room and essentially the rear one as well, for a very good reason.
So now this is the room that you're planning on putting your kitchen in. This family use it as a playroom, as you can see, and this is what it looks like.
I've forgotten, actually, about all this.
How messy our kids used to be.
OK, so if we take this through next door... OK. Now in here you've got this lovely open space that's clutter-free, perfect for the family to hang out. And if you didn't have this separate playroom, so that was the kitchen over there, and this was your playroom and your living space, this is what it would end up looking like. Which would be really, really annoying. And then you'd be walking across here and imagine tripping over all this. You'd have toys everywhere. And I'm not saying that everybody should live like this. I'm just saying it's easier to live like this. And if you're trying to make the most desirable family home, you want it to be as easy to live in as possible.
No, I agree.
Yeah. I have to say I am beginning to warm to the idea of the flexibility. We need to sit down and have another... No more
just
chat.
Do it. Damn it.
It means rebuilding the rear wall of the back reception room, but I think it's an essential move to make this a competitive family home. 130 miles away in Norfolk, ex-cabbie Alan Hutchinson and his wife Susan are starting out on their 8-month development of this burnt-out lodge.
Well, I like destroying things, to rebuild things.
What Alan and Sue are rebuilding is a modest 3-bedroom property. A 3-bedroom family home is completely throwing away this site's potential.
The architect said by putting that extra bedroom in upstairs we could get another 20,000, but to be frank, I think it's worth 20,000 just not to go there, you know, and have to go back to planning and I'm happy to lose 20 grand for not putting a bedroom there, basically. It's just too much hassle.
I reckon there could be a lot more than 20 grand at stake. And when you've sold everything you own and are toughing it out in a caravan, it seems bizarre not to try to maximise your profit.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Very well, come in.
Thank you. I've done some research in the area. These are 3-bedroom houses. So this is 325, 365, 415, 420 and 425. And 390,000 is sort of the average for a 3-bedroom house. And then 4-bedroom houses start at 475, 495, 525, 525 and 575. So the average of those is 519,000. So the difference is 130,000, which is a massive amount between a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom house. You're into a completely different market, completely different league of buyer.
And I can't say I've ever thought about it or noticed it before, because I wouldn't have thought there was a big markup between the two different types of property.
Crucially, at this early stage, adding a 4th bedroom would cost relatively little more at £30,000 and could nearly triple their £60,000 target profit.
If I had £100,000 in pound notes in my hand and said, do you want it or not? Would you go, no, do you know what, I don't really.
No, keep it there.
If you'd done it with this and said, change that, I'd say, no, I don't want it.
But why?
Sorting things out with architects and the council, you know what trouble that can be. So why would we want to go there again?
Yeah. Probably for £100,000.
I'll let you keep your money.
In Henley, Nigel and Gilly have spent so much time finalising plans, their original schedule is already up and the builders are only just starting work on the loft.
Bacon bashes, what time?
Downstairs, work on the kitchen extension has also begun. Nigel and Gilly are doing an enormous amount of work to transform this property, but surprisingly, they're still reluctant to put in one small but vital addition.
I don't want guests walking out of a loo in the middle of a dinner party. It just doesn't work, does it?
No.
Not having a downstairs loo in a large family home like this is just daft. And as the decline in the housing market has now reached Henley, even the smallest compromise could jeopardise their chance of selling, let alone making any money.
It's another added expense which we don't really need, so great, we don't need to have a downstairs loo.
And what if somebody does want to have a downstairs loo? Who buys this?
They can put their own in.
I think the reality is it's unlikely that somebody is going to want to buy a newly modernised house and then rip it apart to put the plumbing in and put a downstairs loo in. They'll just buy another house.
So it's better than just going up this, because the bathroom's just at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, but if you've got little children, it's a pain, and this is a family house.
Yeah.
So if they won't believe me, maybe local estate agents can convince them.
Can we ask you a question? How important is it to have a downstairs toilet in a 4-bedroom family house?
It would be expected these days, a house of that size, with 4 bedrooms, definitely.
All right. And what's the smallest downstairs loo you've ever seen? Because we might have it.
Mine.
OK.
Yes, you do definitely need a downstairs loo, particularly if you've got little children, because you haven't always got that time to run up the stairs with them.
If you can find the space, definitely get a downstairs loo.
We're going to have a downstairs toilet. Every single one of them has said it's a must, even if it is next to a dining room. So
yeah.
I think we have to go for it, don't we?
Near Diss in Norfolk, Alan and Susan are completely immovable on their plans. They're sticking with 3 bedrooms, and their ideas for the ground floor don't make much sense either.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great kitchen.
I like it.
Because each room will come into it, and so if there was a family living here, they would always
congregate in
the kitchen.
They want to put the kitchen right in the middle of the house, but it would make more sense for it to go in the new rear extension, where there are great views and access to the huge garden. This is what families will want, but Alan and Susan just can't seem to see it. But it's so important, I'm determined to get them to open their eyes.
The reality is your biggest market is a family market, and that kind of makes most sense to try and appeal to them.
I think it's going to work, and I'm happy the way it is.
Going to need more persuading. We can do more persuading.
OK.
Because we're going to ask some other people what they think.
Right.
Would you prefer the kitchen dining room to be overlooking the garden, or would you prefer the kitchen dining room to be in the middle of the house?
No, overlooking the garden.
So that's one to me.
It's lovely in the summer to throw the doors open and extend your kitchen and living area into the garden.
I would rather have the kitchen in the conservatory bit with the dining table. I've got a family and I could see them and look at them while I was in the kitchen as well,
Thank you.
OK, so more. She's always right, you know. I watched the programme.
The room that you're going to use the most is the room that I'd want overlooking the nice view.
Are you persuaded? No. But even though I've asked all these people, you're going to stick to your guns and there's no persuading you?
Well, yes.
I have to say, you're seriously stubborn customers.
We
know what we like.
We get sat in
and we do stick to it.
And hopefully we're on.
It would be funny, but this crazy decision will cost them a lot of money. I hope they'll change their minds.
We both slept on it and said to each other, I think we better consider the kitchen being in the extension, and in the end we decided it was a good idea.
Probably be more cost effective, and it will shut Sarah up as well, you know.
But just as I think I'm back on track with this pair, they take a gruesome detour.
Oh my goodness. I would really question whether selling this house is going to be made easier with that. I'll pay you to take it down. It's horrible.
In Norfolk, Alan and Susan have been working tirelessly on their development, but the budget is getting out of hand.
You just feel like sometimes you're a cash machine and people just think it's OK to, oh yeah, this has cost another this and this has cost this, and, you know, and you just think, well, you know, where are you supposed to get it all from? You just can't keep shelling it out.
And it's not just the rising costs that are getting them down.
living in a caravan has a bit of a wearing effect on you, and you don't realise that you're getting down, but you actually, you know, realise when you go to other people's houses especially, you know, what you've left behind.
It's February 2008, and like the rest of the country, Norfolk house sales are falling by as much as 34%. Buyers are scarce, so making a good first impression is vital. But Alan and Susan have been toiling in the woods for so long, I'm worried they've lost touch with reality.
I've had a sculpture done of the Green Man of the Forest. The Green Man stands for fertility, rebirth, and really that's what this house is all about. It's been reborn after the fire and everything. I don't think Sarah's going to like it, but I love it, so there's no discussion about it. It's there to stay.
Alan is so pleased with the sculpture, he wants me to get maximum impact.
Oh my goodness. Like, it's not a little green man. It's also really scary. Ooh. Crikey me. So, we're in the front porch here, and this is meant to be a family house, and you've got a scary evil ogre in the wall.
That's right.
I would really question whether selling this house is going to be made easier with that as the first thing that you see. Whose idea was?
That was my idea.
And Susan, you're in charge of the rest of the interior, aren't you?
Yes. I'm your safe bet, and that's your wild card.
And you're convinced by this too, are you?
Yeah, I think it's a nice feature. There's lots of family crests and stuff like that that's put on the walls. Nobody bats an eyelid, really.
And your equivalent of a family crest is to have a giant, scary ogre growling down at you as you come through the front porch. I really, really think it's an error of judgment. Do you know, I've never done this before, but I'll pay you to take it down. It's horrible. 20 quid, yeah?
No.
All right, 40 quid.
Nothing.
60?
200.
200?
Yeah. No.
So not even for 200 quid?
No. I think it's mysterious. It fits into the forest theme. I love it. I think it's a great piece, and it's staying. And you're not going to change my mind.
Well, it may be the god of the forest.
Yeah.
I think you're both away with the fairies.
In truth, I'm not sure it's that funny. Getting buyers through their door in one of the most difficult housing markets has just got a whole lot harder. In Henley, Nigel and Jilly have their own gremlins. They have taken on the massive modernisation of an outdated family home, which they bought at the peak and seriously underestimated the amount of work that needed doing.
We've had enough now, really. We want it all done and finished, builders out and us in, and start decorating, because there's so much to do. And although the building is coming to an end and you think, you know, it's all finished, it isn't. There's nowhere near finished, nowhere near. So, you know, we've got to soldier on and do the whole house.
And the workload's not the only problem. They've run out of cash.
Basically, we're about £20,000 over budget, and we've gone to the Building Society because of the credit crunch. They've said they're not prepared to lend us any more money.
It's not good news at all, but we've got to find it to finish the house.
It's not just Nigel and Jilly who are feeling the pinch. With banks drastically reducing their lending, house sales are being hit, even in areas like Henley. I just hope all Nigel and Jilly's hard work isn't for nothing. In Norfolk, Alan and Susan are also in trouble. At a time when prospective buyers are fleeing the market, they're over schedule and over budget.
The build's taking longer than we thought, and the reason for this is because we're doing a lot of the work ourselves.
This is taking so much of our time up, and it's just every day, non-stop, you know, just coming out and just doing this. In the end, just gets on your nerves, but you've got to do it.
And it's not just the delay in this development that's a concern. Having 4 bedrooms is vital if they're to achieve the top price for a family home. I suggested they could add one over a larger extension, but Alan and Susan think they found a better solution.
As soon as they put the roof up, we could see we could get a 4th bedroom, so I got no problem with putting one up here. We'd be silly not to.
Squeezing in a 4th bedroom without adding any extra square footage is not quite what I had in mind.
We've managed to get 4 bedrooms upstairs for the cost of a few bits of timber, and they're fairly decent-sized rooms by today's standards.
There shouldn't be anything standard about this development in a market where buyers are few and far between. But it's not the only thing I think might put people off.
This conservatory is going to be so brilliant. It's definitely my favourite bit. I don't think Sarah's going to like the idea of us having one, but I really want this conservatory and I'm really looking forward to it being done, and I think it's going to be such a feature that it needs it. The house needs it, especially this period house.
Yeah, and what has been in now anyway?
At a conservatory showroom, I'm going to show Alan and Susan exactly why, in my experience, conservatories can put off lots of buyers.
Now, the big problem with conservatories, or traditional conservatories, is that in the summer they're boiling hot and in the winter they're freezing cold. And what I've set up here is a lamp that throws in the same amount of light that the sun would. Can you feel the glare is quite unpleasant to sit in?
It's in your face.
It's going to be really hot in here.
I think you'd have to have a blind or something like that, yeah.
And what's the point in having a glass roof if you're going to put a blind over it? And why not go with a more contemporary version of a conservatory, which would be a garden room?
A garden room is 20% more expensive because it has to comply with building regs for insulation. But I think it will always add value.
Alan was quite keen for a garden room, but I'm definitely against it. I'm 100% for a conservatory. Anyone who lives in that house wants to enjoy that beautiful, unspoilt countryside all year round, to watch birds, nature, whatever. If you wanted to do looking at the stars at night, it's such a missed opportunity if we don't have a glass roof.
So you're absolutely sold on the fact that you don't want a garden room, you'll only have a conservatory?
Yeah.
OK.
In Henley, Gilly and Nigel are over budget and the bank is refusing to help. So they should be finishing this project as cheaply as possible, but furniture restorer Gilly has one expensive weakness.
This is the offending table, then. This is huge.
It's so gorgeous. The legs are 180 years old. The top is old mill boards from France.
It wasn't the cheapest purchase in the world.
No. How much was it?
We're not telling. We're not telling.
You're really not going to tell me?
No.
Money doesn't come into it when you love something.
Yeah.
Surely you can't fit this massive table into your development?
No. We're gonna have it shortened. About a foot. About a foot off each end.
And that's a lot of table you're cutting off.
Yeah. Well,
but there's a lot of table left.
And you weren't tempted to just buy a shorter table?
This sort of table doesn't come up very often. Gilly and I have been looking for ages.
Do you think that maybe sometimes that development head kind of flies out the window a bit?
Development didn't come into it at all.
No.
Unless you're honest.
Not at all.
This is going to be the only time when we've gone slightly off from the project.
It's really important, though, that you get the right furniture in, because furniture that's too big or too small or the wrong size...
Oh, no, it won't happen again.
It's October 2008, and in Norfolk, Alan and Susan have roped in extra hands to help with the final push to get their development finished.
It's coming on very nicely, and the end is in sight.
They may be on the home straight, but with the housing market paralysed, will there be any buyers?
It's a concern that when we finished, it won't be worth what we want it to be worth.
Where 4 burnt-out walls once stood tucked away in the middle of the forest, there is now a spectacular 4-bed family home.
Well, considering that this was literally 4 walls, It's the most spectacular achievement. That's great.
Yeah, it's turned out very well, isn't it?
Apart from Scary Man.
Yeah.
The Green Man in the Woods isn't the only battle I've had with this pair to maximise the stunning potential of this site. Upstairs, there are 2 reasonably sized bedrooms and a family bathroom. But then they've compromised the 3rd bedroom to squeeze in a 4th, which is certainly not a double.
It wasn't exactly how I imagined a 4th bedroom to be, because you've chopped a bit off one of the bedrooms to create it, haven't you? And it's quite a small room. You didn't want to go back to planning.
No, we didn't want to go back to plan. It was just too much aggravation. And we knew we could get a room out of this, and you can actually get a double bed in it.
It's not perfect, but it is a compromise.
Downstairs, the reception rooms work well, with the dining room in the dark central area, even if the styling may be a little too individual for many buyers. I still think they missed an opportunity by adding on a conservatory. But moving the kitchen to the back is a saving grace.
And this is so lovely and light. Imagine what it would be like having this kitchen in the middle of the house in that dark, dark room. Are you now glad or not?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
I would say this is my favourite room. This one and the conservatory, I love it.
So would you have been as happy with it if the kitchen was in the middle?
No, it would have been dark and gloomy. This is much better.
What a wise, wise lady you are. I just can't help feeling that if you'd been a little bit more patient with planning and created a bigger, grander house, that you perhaps could have made more from this absolutely amazing site.
But even without being more ambitious with the development, the budget has increased by £27,000, which means they need to sell for £417,000 to break even.
The market, since you bought this, has been volatile, to say the least. Do you know how much the market has dropped in this area?
No, we don't. No.
It depends so much on which property, and this is going to have held its value better than others, but it's relatively universally accepted around here that there's been sort of 15%.
The current market is really tight.
It's challenging, there's no doubt about it.
I've been in the business 20 years and this is the worst I've known it.
I would value this property at £390,000.
I value this house at £400,000.
I value this house at £450,000.
I'm not surprised they mentioned 450 because I think the property is worth that.
This hasn't been valued at 450. You're not going to definitely get 450 for this.
No.
And with those 3 valuations, I think you'll be more likely to get 400 than 450.
Well,
so I think you have to be realistic. I mean, I could say it's worth 800. You're not going to get 800 for it. You've got to get someone to actually pay the money.
Yeah.
So what will you do in this situation?
I think we're going to ride out the storm and move in and enjoy it.
And 7 months on, Alan and Susan have completely fallen in love with the house and are intending to stay living there for some time to come. But in Henley, estate agents are warning that the £675,000 Nigel and Gilly were looking for is a dim and distant dream.
The house opposite has been on the market for 2 months at $599, and it's now been reduced to $499, and they still haven't got a buyer.
It's October 2008, and since Nigel and Gilly took on an enormous development 15 months ago, property sales in Henley-on-Thames have plummeted. 12 months ago, houses were snapped up before they came on the market. Now, only the very best are getting even a whiff of interest. So after months of slog, will Gilly and Nigel make a penny?
This project's been a lot harder than I think we thought it was going to be. A lot more stressful than I ever imagined. I think you eat, sleep and breathe it.
It takes over your whole life.
Yeah, we are going to lie down for a very long time after this.
outside, this once neglected family home has now been spruced up, but it's inside that the development comes into its own. Nigel and Gilly have maximised the value of their loft conversion by creating 2 bright and spacious top-floor rooms. Downstairs, there's the master bedroom with ensuite, and a further bedroom and that crucial family bathroom.
Now, this was going to be a bedroom, wasn't it? And you were going to have the family bathroom up in the attic.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. But this works brilliant, and it's a lovely big room. And
Yeah, I mean, ultimately here you've now got pretty much the perfect layout for a family house, which means that in terms of sale, you are at the very front of any other potential houses.
On the ground floor, the front reception room is spacious and beautifully styled. I think it's a shame they didn't keep a value-adding second reception room, but the kitchen is bright and modern and has enough room for that very expensive table.
What a fantastic room. And this is brilliant as far as a family home is concerned. I mean, this is exactly what any kind of family is going to want, isn't it? Apart from the fact that if this was a playroom and this was a kitchen breakfast room, you still have this kind of toy thoroughfare.
Well, we think the space works well as it is.
It's so good, this house, in all possible ways. The layout couldn't actually be better. And this is the only area, I think, that maybe it falls down.
And if people that buy the house want doors there, they can put them in themselves.
I agree with you that someone could put them in, but I just feel that you're providing such a sort of top-notch product that in a perfect world, for a family home, you would have this space separated, or able to be separated up, or not separated up, which makes it absolutely kind of spot on for a family home.
Luckily, though, they did install the critical downstairs loo. Overall, the budget went from 100,000 to 120,000, which is not good news in a market that's only going down.
You were hoping when you bought it that you'd get 675,000 for this, weren't you? Which I think was probably quite toppy at the time.
It's not worth £675,000 now. I know that.
It may not be worth 675,000, but Gilly and Nigel have to get 647,000 just to break even. What do the agents think?
The biggest among for sales in Henley is the smaller family home in the sort of £400,000 category.
Maybe 18 months ago, properties like this would have sold in 3 to 4 weeks, whereas now it would take months.
There's a house opposite, it's been on the market for 2 months at 599, and it's now been reduced to 499, and they still haven't got a buyer.
I think an achievable price for this property is £650,000.
I would value this property at £620,000.
I value this house at £620,000.
The lowest of that would give you a £27,000 loss, and the highest would give you a £3,000 profit, which in this market is at least a profit.
Yeah. If we'd known a year ago what was going to happen, then obviously we wouldn't have even begun to consider this project.
so much work for such little money.
We got the timing wrong. It's as simple as that.
Timing wasn't the only thing that was wrong with this development. When planning a budget, a 20% contingency is vital, but Nigel and Gilly's margins were too small from the outset. When it became clear that the market wasn't going to turn around overnight, Nigel and Gilly decided to sell their more expensive family home and move into the Henley development.
We've ended up where we were a year and a half ago, and to be able to say that, I think we're very, very lucky. We didn't make all that money we wanted to, but we haven't done badly. We've got a better house than we had before.
It's just so nice to look round and think, well, it's all done. We would do another development because we did enjoy it, and hopefully we'd make money next time because that helps.
Well, that's why we did it in the first place, wasn't it?
There's never been a more difficult time to develop, so it's really, really important that you get everything worked out. The rising market will no longer protect you, and mistakes will cost you dearly.
Next week on Property Ladder, can taking on a unique property be the answer to a falling market?
Did you just think, do you know what, I really need a jailhouse?
It's going to feel like it's a great pad in the West End of London.